The hospital gown clung to her sweat-soaked skin as another contraction ripped through her abdomen. Elena Rodriguez gripped the edge of the examination table, her knuckles white, her breath coming in short, desperate gasps. "Mrs. Stone, we need to get you into surgery now," Dr. Patel said, her voice calm but urgent. "The bleeding isn't stopping. The baby's heartbeat is dropping." Elena's hand trembled as she reached for her phone on the side table. 3 missed calls. 2 voicemails, all from her assistant. None from her husband. "Please," Elena whispered, her vision blurring with tears and pain. Just give me 1 more minute. He's coming. He said he was coming." The nurse exchanged a glance with the doctor. "Mrs. Stone, we don't have a minute." Elena's phone buzzed. She grabbed it with desperate hope. A text from Damien's secretary. "Mr. Stone is in final negotiations for the Singapore merger. He'll call when he's free. Not even from him. From his secretary." The contraction hit harder this time. Elena's scream echoed through the sterile room. "Prep the OR," Dr. Patel ordered. "Now." As they wheeled her toward the operating room, Elena clutched her phone against her chest, tears streaming down her face. He wasn't coming. Their baby was dying, and Damien Stone had chosen a billion-dollar deal instead. Welcome to the Loaded Diaries. Please like, share, and subscribe. 6 hours earlier, Elena had been standing in Damien's corner office on the 47th floor of Stone Industries, her hand resting protectively over her barely visible baby bump. "You promised," she said quietly. "You promised you'd come to the appointment." Damien didn't look up from his laptop. His jaw was tight, his fingers moving rapidly across the keyboard. The late afternoon sun cast harsh shadows across his sharp features. Features that had once made her heart race, but now only filled her with a cold, creeping dread. "I have the Singapore delegation arriving in 3 hours," said. "This deal is worth $2 billion, Elena. $2 billion. And I'm worth nothing." That made him look up. His gray eyes were ice. "Don't be dramatic." "Dramatic!" Elena's voice cracked. "I've been bleeding, Damien, for 2 days. The doctor said if it gets worse, then go to the doctor." He returned his attention to the screen. "You don't need me there to hold your hand." The dismissal in his tone was like a physical slap. Elena had been trying to get pregnant for 3 years. 3 years of failed IVF cycles, hormone injections that left her bloated and emotional, miscarriages so early they barely registered on tests, but broke her heart nonetheless. She'd spent over $200,000, her own money from the inheritance her grandmother left her, on fertility treatments. Damien had been supportive in theory, writing checks when asked, but never actually present for the appointments, the procedures, the devastating phone calls from doctors. This pregnancy, Sophie, had been their miracle. Their 5th IVF attempt. Their last chance before Elena's doctor recommended they consider other options. Elena had been 12 weeks along before she dared to believe it might actually work. Before she'd let herself imagine holding her baby, hearing her cry, watching her grow. And now Damien was treating this miracle, this hard-won, desperately wanted, 3 years in the making miracle, like it was an inconvenience. Elena stood frozen for a moment, her heart hammering against her ribs. 3 years of marriage, 3 years of coming second to board meetings, conference calls, and endless negotiations. But this was their baby. "If you don't come," she said softly, "I'll know exactly where I stand." Damien's fingers paused on the keyboard. For a brief, fragile moment, she thought he might actually choose her. Then his phone rang. He answered it without hesitation. "Stone. Yes, the contracts are ready. I'll be in the conference room in 10. He hung up and finally met her eyes. "I'll make it up to you," he said. "I always do." But he didn't move, didn't stand, didn't reach for his coat. Elena felt something inside her chest shatter into 1,000 irreparable pieces. "No," she whispered. "You won't." She turned and walked out of his office, her hand still pressed against her belly, whispering silent prayers to the tiny life inside her. "Please hold on. Please." The bleeding had started in the car on the way home. At first, it was just a trickle, then a flood. Elena had called Damien 4 times. He'd sent every call to voicemail. By the time she stumbled into the emergency room alone, her dress was soaked with blood and the nurses were shouting orders she couldn't fully comprehend. Now lying in the recovery room after emergency surgery, Elena stared at the white ceiling tiles and felt nothing. Not grief, not rage, just a vast, empty silence where her heart used to be. "Mrs. Stone." Dr. Patel stood in the doorway, her expression carefully neutral. "I'm sorry," the doctor said. "We did everything we could." The placental abruption was too severe. "By the time you arrived, is my baby dead?" Elena's voice was flat, hollow. Dr. Patel hesitated. "The fetus didn't survive the surgery." Elena closed her eyes. The fetus, not their daughter. Not the little girl she'd already named in her heart, Sophie, after her grandmother. Just a fetus. "Your husband is outside," Dr. Patel added gently. "He arrived about an hour ago. Would you like me to send him in?" Elena's eyes snapped open. "No. Mrs. Stone," I said no. Her voice was stronger now, cold. "I don't want to see him." Dr. Patel nodded slowly and left. But 5 minutes later, the door opened anyway. Damien Stone stood in the doorway, still in his tailored Tom Ford suit, his tie loosened, his hair slightly disheveled. He looked like he'd been running his hands through it, something he only did when he was stressed. "Good. Elena." His voice was rough, strained. "Baby, I'm so sorry. The meeting ran long, and by the time I got your messages—" "Get out." He froze. "What?" Elena turned her head to look at him, and she saw him flinch at whatever he saw in her eyes. "Get out of this room," she said quietly. "Get out of this hospital. Get out of my life." "Elena, don't say things you don't mean. You're in shock. You're grieving. We both are." "Are you?" She laughed, a broken, bitter sound. "Are you grieving the daughter you killed?" Damien's face went white. "That's not fair." "Fair." Elena sat up despite the sharp pain in her abdomen. "You want to talk about fair? I called you 4 times, Damien. 4 times. I was bleeding, I was terrified, and you were shaking hands with men in suits, celebrating a deal. It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" Her voice rose. "Tell me. Explain to me how $1 billion was worth more than your child's life." "Stop it." His voice hardened. "You're hysterical." "I'm hysterical." She laughed again, and this time it sounded unhinged even to her own ears. "Our baby is dead, and you're calling me hysterical?" "Elena, did you close the deal?" she asked suddenly. He blinked. "What?" "The Singapore merger. Did you close it?" His silence was answer enough. Elena nodded slowly. "I hope it was worth it." "Don't do this," Damien said, his voice low and dangerous now. "Don't make this about money. Don't make me the villain because of a tragedy neither of us could control." "Couldn't control?" Elena stared at him in disbelief. "I told you I was bleeding. I begged you to come. You chose not to." "I didn't know it was serious." "I told you it was serious." "People bleed during pregnancy all the time." He was shouting now. "How was I supposed to know?" "You were supposed to care enough to find out," Elena screamed back. "You were supposed to be my husband." The room fell silent except for the steady beep of the heart monitor. Damien raked a hand through, his hair, his chest heaving. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter, colder. "I'm not going to stand here and let you blame me for something I had no control over." he said. "When you're ready to be rational, we'll talk." He turned toward the door. "Don't come back," Elena said softly. He paused, his hand on the door frame. "You don't mean that." "I've never meant anything more in my life." For a long moment he stood there, his back to her, his shoulders rigid. Then he walked out without another word. Elena lay back against the pillows and stared at the ceiling until the tears finally came. 3 weeks later. Elena stood in the living room of the penthouse she'd shared with Damien for 3 years, surrounded by half-packed boxes. She'd lost 15 pounds. Her clothes hung off her frame. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She hadn't slept more than 2 hours at a time since the miscarriage. But she was leaving. Finally. "You're really doing this?" Damien's voice came from the hallway. She didn't turn around. "Yes." "Elena, it's been 3 weeks. Can we at least talk about this?" "There's nothing to talk about." He moved into her line of sight, and she was startled by how haggard he looked. His eyes were bloodshot. His jaw was shadowed with stubble. His shirt was wrinkled. Damien Stone never looked wrinkled. "You're my wife," he said. "Doesn't that mean anything to you?" "It should have meant something to you," Elena replied, her voice devoid of emotion. "On September 14th at 7:43 p.m., when I was hemorrhaging in an emergency room and you were opening champagne with investors. I've apologized for that." "No, you haven't." She finally looked at him. "You've explained. You've justified. You've defended yourself, but you've never once said the words, 'I'm sorry.'" "I'm saying them now," Damien said, his voice tight. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry you went through that alone. I'm sorry we lost." His voice cracked. "I'm sorry we lost Sophie." Elena's breath hitched. He remembered the name. For a moment, just a moment, her resolve wavered. Then she remembered lying in that hospital bed, bleeding, dying, terrified, and listening to his phone ring endlessly with no answer. "It's too late," she said. "It's not." He stepped closer. "Elena, I know I failed you. I know I made the wrong choice, but I can't lose you too. I can't lose everything." "You didn't lose everything." Her voice was ice. "You gained $2 billion. Congratulations." "Damn it, Elena." He grabbed her arm, not hard, but desperate. "Stop punishing me for one mistake." She looked down at his hand, then up at his face. "Let go of me." Something in her tone made him drop her arm immediately. "If you think our daughter dying was one mistake," Elena said softly, "then you understand even less than I thought." She picked up the last box and walked toward the door. "Where will you go?" Damien asked. "Somewhere you're not." "Elena." She paused in the doorway. "The divorce papers will be delivered next week. I suggest you sign them." "I'm not signing anything." She looked back at him one last time. "Then I'll see you in court." And she walked out of the penthouse, out of the building, out of Damien Stone's life. She didn't look back. 6 months later. The courtroom was cold. Elena sat next to her attorney, her spine straight, her hands folded neatly in her lap. She wore a simple black dress and no jewelry except her grandmother's wedding ring, not the massive diamond Damien had given her. She'd returned that 3 months ago. Across the aisle, Damien sat with his legal team, 3 of the most expensive divorce attorneys in New York. He looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. His suit was immaculate, but his eyes were hollow. He kept staring at her. She refused to look at him. "All rise." Judge Morrison entered, and the proceedings began. It should have been simple. No children, no shared property. Elena had refused to take anything except what she'd brought into the marriage. No alimony. She wanted nothing from him. Nothing except her freedom. But Damien was contesting the divorce. "Your Honor," his lead attorney began, "my client believes this marriage is worth fighting for. The dissolution is being sought during a time of profound grief, and my client feels that with proper counseling and time— Your Honor, Elena's attorney interrupted. My client has made her position clear. She does not wish to reconcile. She does not wish to pursue counseling. She wishes to end a marriage to a man who abandoned her during a medical emergency that resulted in the death of their unborn child. The courtroom fell silent. Judge Morrison looked at Damien. Mr. Stone, is this true? You were not present during your wife's miscarriage? Damien's jaw clenched. I was in a business meeting. I came as soon as I was able. He came 3 hours after I was admitted, Elena said quietly. 2 hours after our daughter was pronounced dead. Every eye in the courtroom turned to her. And he came, Elena continued, her voice steady, only after his secretary informed him that I'd been rushed into emergency surgery. Not because I called, not because I begged, but because his assistant thought it might look bad if the CEO's wife died alone in a hospital. That's not true, Damien said sharply. Isn't it? Elena finally looked at him. Tell me, Damien, did you close the Singapore deal? His silence was damning. Judge Morrison removed her glasses. Mr. Stone, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I expect a direct answer. Did you prioritize a business transaction over your wife's medical emergency? Damien's attorney leaned over to whisper something, but Damien waved him off. Yes, he said. I did. The courtroom erupted in whispers. I thought I had time, Damien continued, his voice rising. I thought it was just a scare. I didn't know. You didn't ask, Elena said. You didn't call back. You didn't come. You chose. I chose wrong. Damien stood abruptly. I know I chose wrong, but I'm not going to lose my marriage because of one mistake. Sit down, Mr. Stone, Judge Morrison ordered. Damien remained standing. Your Honor, I love my wife. I failed her in the worst possible way, but I'm not giving up on us. I can't. You don't get a choice, Elena said, standing as well. You lost that right when you let me bleed alone. They stared at each other across the courtroom, two people who'd once promised forever, now separated by a chasm of grief and betrayal that no amount of money or power could bridge. Judge Morrison sighed. I'm granting the divorce. Your Honor, Damien's attorney began. I'm granting the divorce, the judge repeated firmly. Mr. Stone, your wife has made it abundantly clear that she does not wish to remain married to you. Given the circumstances surrounding the loss of your child, I find her reasoning both sound and justified. This marriage is dissolved, effective immediately. The gavel fell. It was over. Elena felt nothing, no relief, no satisfaction, just the same hollow emptiness that had lived inside her chest for 6 months. She turned to leave. Elena. Damien's voice stopped her at the courtroom doors. She didn't turn around. We have nothing left to say to each other. I know you hate me, he said. I know I deserve it. But please, please don't disappear. Let me at least know you're okay. Now she did turn. You wanted me to be rational, she said. You wanted me to stop being hysterical. Well, here I am, rational, calm, divorced. Are you happy now? No, Damien said roughly. I'm not. Good. Elena walked out of the courthouse into the bright spring sunlight. She took a deep breath of free air and felt the first stirring of something that might someday be hope. She would survive this, and she would make damn sure Damien Stone regretted every single choice that had brought them to this moment. 2 years later. Elena Rodriguez sat in the conference room of Aurora Capital, the venture capital firm she'd built from nothing, and reviewed the acquisition proposal one more time. You're sure about this? Her CFO, Marcus Chen, asked. Elena smiled, a cool, sharp smile that had made more than one CEO nervous in the past 2 years. I'm sure. It's going to destroy him. I know. Marcus hesitated. Elena, I have to ask. Is this about revenge? She considered the question. 2 years ago, she would have said yes. 2 years ago, she'd been consumed with rage, drowning in grief, barely functional. But she'd survived. More than survived. She'd built an empire. Aurora Capital now managed over $500 million in assets. She'd made 3 brilliant investments that had returned 30 times their value. She was feared and respected in rooms that had once dismissed her as Damian Stone's pretty wife. And now she was about to take everything from the man who'd taken everything from her. No, Elena said finally. This is about justice. She signed the acquisition papers with a flourish. Send the offer to Stone Industries, she said. Let's see if Damian still thinks his Singapore deal was worth $2 billion. Marcus grinned. You're terrifying, you know that. Good, Elena replied. I've worked very hard to be terrifying. As Marcus left to deliver the proposal, Elena turned her chair to face the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Brooklyn. Somewhere out there, in a glass tower 10 blocks away, Damian Stone was about to receive the shock of his life. Elena touched her stomach. Flat now, empty, but marked forever by the child she'd carried and lost. This is for you, Sophie, she whispered. This is for both of us. Her phone buzzed with an incoming call from an unknown number. She answered. Rodriguez. Eleanor. Damian's voice. She'd know it anywhere. Hello, Damian, she said coolly. Did you receive my proposal? What the hell are you doing? His voice was tight with barely controlled fury. I'm doing business. Isn't that what you taught me? Business above all else. This isn't business. This is a hostile takeover. Hostile? Elena laughed softly. That's a strong word. I prefer strategic acquisition. Your Singapore division has been underperforming for 2 years. I'm offering you a fair price. You're offering me pennies on the dollar. Then don't sell. She examined her nails. Of course, if you don't, I'll just buy out your board members one by one. I already have 3 votes. I only need 2 more. Silence on the other end. Elena smiled. You should know, Damian. I've become very, very good at closing deals. I learned from the best. You're destroying my company out of spite. No, Elena said. I'm building mine. There's a difference. Elena, please. Can we meet? Can we talk about this? We are talking. In person. Please. She considered it. Considered the satisfaction of looking him in the eye while she dismantled everything he'd built. Fine, she said. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. My office. Don't be late. She hung up before he could respond. And for the first time in 2 years, Elena Rodriguez went home and slept soundly through the night. The next morning. Damian Stone arrived at Aurora Capital at 7:45 a.m. Elena's assistant showed him to the conference room and left him there to wait. He waited for 20 minutes. When Elena finally entered at 8:15, she looked like a completely different woman from the one he'd married. Her dark hair was cut in a sharp bob. She wore a crimson power suit. Her makeup was flawless. Her heels clicked authoritatively on the marble floor, and her eyes, God, her eyes were cold. You're late, Damian said. I'm not late. You're early. Elena sat down across from him and crossed her legs. I have a meeting at 9, so let's make this quick. You want me to withdraw the acquisition proposal? I'm not going to. Elena, however, she continued, I'm willing to negotiate. If you give me the Singapore division plus your Shanghai manufacturing contracts, I'll leave the rest of Stone Industries alone. Damian stared at her. That's half my company. I know. You'd destroy thousands of jobs. I'd restructure. There's a difference. This is insane. He stood abruptly. What happened to you? You did, Elena said simply. You taught me that business matters more than people, more than love, more than family. I'm just applying the lesson. That's not... Damian raked a hand through his hair. I never meant for you to become this. Become what? Successful? Powerful? Independent? She stood as well, meeting his eyes. You wanted a wife who understood your world. Well, congratulations. Now I own part of it. I want my wife back. Your wife is dead, Elena said. She died 2 years ago in a hospital room while you were shaking hands and signing contracts. I'm what's left. Damien moved around the table toward her. Elena didn't retreat. I've regretted that night every single day, he said. Every hour, every minute. If I could go back, but you can't, Elena interrupted. None of us can, so we move forward, and moving forward for me means taking your company apart piece by piece. Why? His voice cracked. Why are you doing this? Because you need to lose something that matters to you, Elena said. You need to feel what I felt. I lost Sophie too. Did you? Elena's voice was ice. Did you hold her? Did you name her? Did you feel her die inside you? Because I did. And when I needed you most, when I was bleeding and terrified and begging for help, you were celebrating. I didn't know. You didn't care enough to find out. The words hung in the air between them like a death sentence. Damien stepped closer, and Elena was suddenly, viscerally aware of how much she'd once loved this man, how much she'd once trusted him, how much he'd destroyed. If I give you the Singapore division, Damien said, quietly, will you at least agree to have dinner with me? No. Coffee then. 1 hour. That's all I'm asking. Why? Because I miss you, he said. Because I'm drowning without you. Because I haven't stopped loving you for a single second, and I need to know if there's any chance at all, that you might still feel something for me. Elena looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the exhaustion in his eyes, the lines of grief carved into his face, the desperate hope he was trying and failing to hide. Good. Give me Singapore, she said. Give me Shanghai, and I'll give you 1 hour. That's extortion. That's business, she smiled. You taught me that too. Damien stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, he nodded. Fine. You'll have the contracts by end of day. Excellent. Elena moved toward the door. My assistant will schedule the coffee meeting. It was a pleasure doing business with you, Mr. Stone. She was almost out the door when his voice stopped her. Elena. She paused, but didn't turn around. I'm sorry, Damien said. I know it doesn't change anything. I know it's too late, but I need you to know I'm sorry for all of it. Elena's hand tightened on the doorframe. If you'd said that 2 years ago, she said softly, it might have mattered. Then she walked out, leaving Damien Stone alone in the conference room, surrounded by the wreckage of everything he'd once believed was unshakable. 1 week later. The coffee shop Elena chose was deliberately neutral, a small upscale cafe in Midtown that neither of them had ever been to before. No memories. No ghosts. She arrived exactly on time, wearing a dove-gray suit and her armor of perfect composure. Damien was already there, sitting at a corner table, 2 cups of coffee waiting. He stood when he saw her, and she noticed the dark circles under his eyes had deepened. Thank you for coming, he said. Elena sat without responding. She took a sip of the coffee, vanilla latte, her favorite. He'd remembered. She hated that he'd remembered. The contracts were finalized yesterday, Damien said. Singapore and Shanghai are yours. Congratulations. Thank you. My board thinks I've lost my mind. Have you? He laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. Probably. I just gave away $250 million worth of assets for 1 hour of your time. That's not exactly sane business practice. No, Elena agreed. It's not. They sat in silence for a moment. Around them, the cafe hummed with conversation, the hiss of espresso machines, the clink of cups on saucers. Normal people living normal lives. You look good, Damien said finally. Healthy. Thank you. Are you seeing anyone? Elena raised an eyebrow. Is that really what you want to use this hour discussing? No. He ran a hand through his hair. I don't know what I want to discuss. I needed to see you, to be near you, even if you hate me. I don't hate you, Elena said. Hope flared in his eyes. I don't feel anything for you anymore, she continued. Hate requires emotion. You're just a business associate now. The hope died. She watched it happen and felt nothing. I don't believe that, Damien said. Believe what you want. If you felt nothing, you wouldn't have spent 2 years building a company just to destroy mine. Elena set down her coffee cup with deliberate care. You're right. 2 years ago, I did this for revenge. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being about you and started being about me. About proving I could succeed in your world. About building something that was mine. And did you? Prove it. Yes. She met his eyes. I'm better at this than you are, Damien. I'm smarter, more ruthless, more strategic. Everything you taught me, I perfected. Everything you were, I became, and then I surpassed you. It should have sounded arrogant. Instead, it just sounded sad. I'm proud of you, Damien said quietly. I don't need your pride. I know, but you have it anyway. Elena checked her watch. We have 43 minutes left. If you have something to say, say it. Damien leaned forward. I want you back. No. Elena. No, she repeated. Whatever you're about to say, the answer is no. We're not getting back together. We're not trying again. We're not anything except two people who used to be married and now aren't. I've changed. So have I. I go to therapy now, Damien said. 3 times a week. I've learned about emotional availability, about prioritizing relationships, about being a decent human being. Elena interrupted. Congratulations. You've achieved the bare minimum. He flinched. That's not fair. Fair? Elena laughed. You want to talk about fair? Let me tell you what's fair, Damien. Fair would be you lying in a hospital bed, bleeding, terrified, in excruciating pain, while the person who promised to love and protect you chooses a conference room instead. Fair would be you, burying a child alone because your spouse was too busy celebrating a deal to attend the funeral. There was no funeral, Damien said hoarsely. You wouldn't let me, because you didn't deserve to be there. Elena's voice cracked, and she hated herself for it, hated him for making her feel again. You didn't earn the right to grieve. You didn't earn the right to mourn. You lost that right when you sent me to voicemail 4 times in a row. I know. Damien's eyes were bright with unshed tears. God, Elena, I know. I replay that night in my head every single day. I see every call I ignored, every text I dismissed, every choice I made that led to losing you both. Then you understand why there's no going back. I understand why you think there isn't, Damien said, but I also know that you're not as indifferent as you pretend to be. If you were, you would have walked away 2 years ago and never looked back. Instead, you built a company designed to destroy me. That's not indifference. That's hurt. And hurt means you still feel something. Elena stood abruptly. This meeting is over. We still have 38 minutes. Then consider it a gift. You're finally getting something from me for free. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. I'm not giving up on you, Damien called after her. Elena paused in the doorway. Without turning around, she said, You already did. 2 years ago. Everything since then is just you trying to feel less guilty. She walked out into the bright autumn afternoon and didn't look back, but her hands were shaking 3 months later. The charity gala was the event of the season, a black tie affair at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, with tickets starting at $10,000 and going up from there. Elena normally avoided these functions. Too many memories. Too many people who'd known her as Mrs. Stone and now didn't quite know what to call her. But Aurora Capital was a sponsor this year and she needed to be seen. needed to remind the world that she was powerful, successful, untouchable. She wore a midnight blue gown that hugged every curve, her hair swept up in an elegant chignon, diamonds glittering at her throat and ears. She looked like a queen. She felt like she was going to war. "You're stunning," Marcus said, appearing at her elbow with 2 glasses of champagne. "Every man in this room is staring at you." "Good," Elena said, accepting the glass. "Let them stare, including your ex-husband." Elena's grip tightened on the champagne flute. "He's here?" 10 o'clock, near the Grecian exhibit. He arrived 5 minutes ago with the mayor." Elena didn't look. Refused to look. "It doesn't matter," she said. "He's irrelevant." "Is he?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Because you've gone pale." "I'm fine." "Elena, I said I'm fine." But she wasn't. Her heart was racing, her palms were sweating, and she hated that after all this time, the mere presence of Damien Stone could still affect her. "Ms. Rodriguez?" Elena turned to find a handsome man in his early 40s smiling at her. He had kind eyes and an easy confidence that reminded her of nothing and no one. Perfect. "Yes. Andrew Chen. I'm the new CEO of Millennium Tech. I've been hoping to meet you all evening." Elena smiled, her practiced, professional smile. "The pleasure is mine, Mr. Chen. I've been following your work. The autonomous vehicle integration you announced last quarter was brilliant." "Please, call me Andrew, and thank you. I actually wanted to discuss a potential partnership." They talked business for 20 minutes. Andrew was intelligent, charming, and clearly interested in more than just her investment portfolio. Elena found herself relaxing, laughing at his jokes, enjoying his company, and then she felt it, the prickling sensation of being watched. She glanced up and met Damien's eyes across the crowded ballroom. He was standing alone, a glass of whiskey in his hand, staring at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. He looked devastated. Elena deliberately turned her attention back to Andrew and touched his arm, smiling up at him. "I'd love to discuss this further," she said. "Perhaps over dinner next week." Andrew's face lit up. "I'd like that very much." They exchanged business cards, and Andrew excused himself to greet another associate. Elena finally allowed herself to look for Damien again. He was gone. She told herself she was relieved. She told herself she didn't care. She told herself a lot of lies that night. Elena found him on the museum steps an hour later. She'd come outside for air, to escape the crowds and the noise and the constant performance of being Elena Rodriguez, CEO, instead of Elena Rodriguez. Broken woman. Damien was sitting on the marble steps, his bow tie undone, his jacket discarded beside him, staring out at the city lights. He looked up when he heard her heels on the stone. "You followed me," Elena said. "No, I was here first." She should have turned around, should have gone back inside, should have done anything except sit down beside him on the cold steps. But she sat. They didn't speak for a long time. "He seems nice," Damien said finally. "Andrew Chen." "He is. Are you going to see him again?" "That's none of your business." "I know." Damien took a drink of his whiskey. "Doesn't stop me from wanting to know. Why do you care?" "Because I'm in love with you," Damien said. "Because I've been in love with you since the day we met. And I'll be in love with you the day I die, and watching you smile at another man feels like being stabbed repeatedly in the chest." Elena closed her eyes. "Don't." "Don't what?" "Tell you the truth." "Don't try to manipulate me with declarations of love." "It's not manipulation," Damien said. "It's just the truth. A truth that's destroying me, but still the truth." "You don't get to be destroyed," Elena said. "You don't get to be the victim." "I'm not trying to be the victim. I'm just trying to survive losing you." "Then stop." Elena stood abruptly. "Stop trying to survive it. Stop going to therapy. Stop sending flowers to my office. Stop looking at me like I'm the only thing keeping you alive. Just Stop. Damien stood as well. I can't. Why not? Because you are the only thing keeping me alive. His voice echoed off the marble columns. Because every morning I wake up in that empty penthouse and I remember what I lost, and I want to die, because my company is falling apart, my reputation is in ruins, and I don't care about any of it, because the only thing I care about is standing in front of me telling me to stop loving her. Elena stared at him. Your company is falling apart? Damien laughed bitterly. That's what you focus on. Yes, Elena, my company is falling apart. I've lost 6 major accounts in 3 months. My board is talking about voting me out. The Singapore division you took from me was apparently the only thing keeping us solvent. I'm going bankrupt. Good, Elena said coldly. Good? Damien stared at her. Jesus Christ, Elena, what happened to you? You happened to me. She was shouting now, her composure finally shattering. You broke me. You destroyed me. You took everything I was and ground it into dust, and now you're surprised that I'm not the same sweet, naive girl who loved you? That girl died, Damien, and I had to build someone new from the pieces. I know, Damien said. I know I did that. I know I'm responsible. But I'm begging you, please, please tell me there's some part of you that remembers what we had. Some part that can forgive me. There isn't. You're lying. I'm not. Then why are you crying? Elena reached up and was shocked to find her face wet with tears. She hadn't even realized she was crying. Because I hate you, she whispered. I hate you so much it's eating me alive. Good, Damien said. Hate me. Scream at me. Hit me. Do whatever you need to do. Just don't be indifferent. Don't pretend I don't exist. That's the only thing I can't survive. I don't care what you can survive, Elena said. I don't care if you're hurting. I don't care if you're drowning. You let me drown, and now I'm supposed to save you? No, absolutely not. I'm not asking you to save me. I'm asking you to let me try to save us. There is no us. Elena backed away from him. There hasn't been an us for 2 years. There's just you and me and the ghost of a baby you couldn't be bothered to save. The words hung in the air like a curse. Damien's face went white. That's not fair. Nothing about any of this is fair, Elena screamed. Life isn't fair. Love isn't fair. And you don't get to decide when you've suffered enough to earn forgiveness. She turned and ran back into the museum, her heels clicking frantically on the marble, her vision blurred with tears. Behind her, she heard Damien call her name, but she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. If she stopped, she might turn around, and if she turned around, she might remember how much she'd once loved him. That was the one thing she couldn't afford to do. 6 months later, Elena stared at the pregnancy test in her hand and felt her entire world tilt sideways. Positive. It couldn't be positive. She took 3 more tests, all positive. No, she whispered. No, 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 no. Her hands were shaking so badly she dropped the 4th test. It clattered into the marble sink and she stared at it, her mind racing. She was pregnant. She was pregnant with Andrew Chen's baby. They'd been dating for 4 months. It was casual, pleasant, comfortable, uncomplicated. Andrew was kind and respectful and had never once made her feel like she was competing with his work for attention. He was the opposite of Damien in every way, and she was carrying his child. Elena sank to the bathroom floor, her back against the cold tile, and tried to breathe through the panic. She couldn't do this again. Couldn't risk loving a child only to lose them. Couldn't survive another miscarriage, another betrayal, another hospital room filled with blood and grief. But even as the panic threatened to overwhelm her, she felt something else. Hope. A tiny, fragile, terrifying hope that maybe this time would be different. This time she wouldn't be alone. This time, the father would actually care. Elena picked up her phone and called Andrew. Elena, he answered on the 2nd ring, sounding delighted. I was just thinking about you. Are we still on for dinner tonight? Can you come to my apartment? Elena asked. Now, I need to talk to you. His tone shifted immediately. Is everything okay? I don't know, Elena said honestly. I really don't know. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He arrived in 15. Elena let him in, and he immediately pulled her into a hug. What's wrong? You sounded upset on the phone. I'm pregnant, Elena said. Andrew went very still. Then he pulled back to look at her face. Is it mine? Yes. Are you sure? I haven't been with anyone else, Elena said. So yes, I'm sure. Andrew was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, a smile spread across his face. We're having a baby. Elena blinked. You're happy? I'm terrified, Andrew admitted. But yes, I'm happy. Are you? I don't know what I am, Elena said. I lost a baby 2 years ago. I'm afraid of losing this one too. Understanding dawned in Andrew's eyes. Your miscarriage, when you were married. Elena had told him the bare minimum about her past, about Damien, about Sophie. Yes. Elena. Andrew took her hands. I'm not going anywhere. Whatever you need, whatever you're feeling, I'm here. We're doing this together. She wanted to believe him. Wanted so desperately to believe that this time would be different. Okay, she whispered. Together. Andrew kissed her forehead. Together. And for the first time in 2 years, Elena allowed herself to believe in something other than revenge. 3 weeks later. Damien Stone was having the worst day of his life, which was saying something, considering the last 3 years had been a continuous nightmare. His company was hemorrhaging money. His board had officially filed a vote of no confidence. His reputation in the business community was destroyed. And now, sitting in his lawyer's office, he was being informed that his ex-wife was pregnant with another man's baby. How do you know? Damien asked hoarsely. His lawyer, Patricia Stevens, looked uncomfortable. She's filed for updated insurance documentation. Standard procedure during pregnancy. It's public record. Public record, Damien repeated numbly. I'm sorry, Damien. I know this must be difficult. Difficult? Damien laughed. Difficult is losing a client. Difficult is a bad quarterly report. This is... His voice broke. This is Elena carrying someone else's child. Patricia was quiet for a moment. She's moved on, Damien. Maybe it's time you did the same. I can't. You have to? I can't. Damien slammed his hand on the desk. I can't move on from her. I've tried. God knows I've tried, but she's everything. And now she's having a baby with someone else, and He couldn't finish. Couldn't put into words the agony of knowing that Elena was experiencing the joy they should have shared together with another man. Does she look happy? Damien asked suddenly. Patricia hesitated. What? You've seen her recently, at the prenatal filing office. Does she look happy? Damien, please, I need to know. Patricia sighed. Yes, she looked happy. Damien closed his eyes. Good, that's good. But it wasn't good. It was destroying him. I need to see her, he said, standing abruptly. Damien! But he was already out the door. Elena was in her office when Damien arrived. Her assistant tried to stop him, but he brushed past her and barged into Elena's corner suite without knocking. Elena looked up from her computer, her expression shifting from indifferent to surprised in an instant. I heard about the baby, Damien said. Congratulations. What? Is it Andrew Chen's? Elena stood slowly. That is none of your business. You're right, Damien said. It's not. But I'm asking anyway. Is it his? Yes. The confirmation felt like a knife between his ribs. Are you happy? Damien asked. Yes. Does he treat you well? Better than you ever did. Good. Damien nodded. That's good. You deserve that. Elena stared at him warily. Why are you here, Damien? I don't know, he admitted. When I heard you were pregnant, I had to see you. Had to make sure you were okay. I'm fine. Are you? Damien moved closer. Because the last time you were pregnant. Don't. Elena's voice was sharp. Don't you dare bring that up. I just want to make sure you're being careful, that you're seeing a good doctor, that you're not— Not what? Being abandoned by my partner. Elena laughed bitterly. Don't worry. Damien, Andrew is nothing like you. He actually cares about me. I cared about you, Damien said. I still care about you. No, you don't. You care about easing your guilt. There's a difference. That's not true. Isn't it? Elena moved around her desk to face him directly. Tell me, Damien, if I lost this baby, if something went wrong, would you actually care? Or would you just be relieved that I'm finally suffering as much as you are? Damn, Elena. Damien looked horrified. How can you even ask that? Because I don't know anymore. Elena's voice cracked. I don't know who you are. I don't know if you ever really loved me or if I was just convenient. Just another asset in your portfolio. You were never just an asset, Damien said fiercely. You were my wife. You were the mother of my child. You were the only woman I've ever loved, and I destroyed us because I was too arrogant and too stupid to see what mattered. Too late, Elena whispered. It's too late for those words. I know. Damien's voice was raw. But I needed you to hear them anyway. I've moved on. I'm with someone who actually shows up, who actually cares, who actually puts me first. I know, and I'm glad. I'm genuinely glad you found someone better than me. For the first time since he'd entered her office, Elena's expression softened slightly. They stood in silence for a long moment. Now please leave. Damien nodded. He turned toward the door, then paused. If anything goes wrong, he said quietly, if you need anything, anything at all, please call me. I know I have no right to ask, but goodbye, Damien. He left without another word. Elena watched him go, then sank into her chair and placed her hand over her still flat stomach. Don't worry, little one, she whispered. You're going to have a good father, a father who shows up, I promise. But even as she said the words, she felt a traitorous tear slip down her cheek, and she wasn't entirely sure who she was crying for. 4 months later. Elena stood in front of the mirror in her bedroom, her hand resting on the gentle swell of her stomach. 20 weeks. Halfway there. The baby was healthy, strong, growing perfectly, and Elena was terrified every single day. You look beautiful, Andrew said from the doorway. Elena smiled at his reflection. He'd been perfect throughout the pregnancy, attending every appointment, reading every book, installing the crib in what would be the nursery. He was everything Damien hadn't been. So why did she still feel empty? The anatomy scan is this afternoon, Andrew said, moving into the room to wrap his arms around her from behind. Are you nervous? A little, Elena admitted. Whatever we find out, we're going to be fine, Andrew said. The baby is going to be fine. Elena wanted to believe him, but she'd believed that before, and it had ended in blood and grief and a tiny casket she'd had to bury alone. What if something goes wrong? She whispered. Andrew turned, her to face him. Then we'll handle it, together. I'm not going anywhere, Elena. You and this baby are my priority, always. The words should have comforted her. Instead, they just reminded her of all the promises Damien had made and broken. Okay, she said. Let's go. The anatomy scan showed a healthy baby girl. Elena stared at the screen, watching her daughter's tiny heart beat, her perfect fingers curl and uncurl, her little face turn toward the ultrasound wand. She's perfect, the technician said, smiling. Absolutely perfect. Andrew was crying. Openly, unashamedly crying as he stared at the image of their daughter. That's our girl, he whispered. Elena, that's our little girl. Elena nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Another daughter. Someone who would live. Hopefully. Do you want to know the position of the placenta? The technician asked. Everything looks excellent, but given your history, Dr. Martinez wanted me to double-check. Elena tensed. Is something wrong? No, the technician assured her. Everything is perfect. The placenta is in an ideal position, blood flow is excellent, and your cervix is closed and long. All very good signs. So there's no risk of... Elena couldn't finish the sentence. The technician's expression softened with understanding. No risk of placental abruption, at least no higher than any other healthy pregnancy. You're doing everything right, Ms. Rodriguez. For the first time in 4 months, Elena felt like she could breathe. Thank you, she whispered. Andrew squeezed her hand. See? I told you, everything is fine. And it was. It really was. So why did Elena still feel like she was waiting for disaster to strike? 2 weeks later, Damien saw the pregnancy announcement on social media. He shouldn't have been looking. He'd blocked Elena's accounts months ago specifically to avoid torturing himself with updates about her life. But late at night, when the loneliness became unbearable, he'd unblock her. Just for a few minutes. Just to see her face. The post was a simple ultrasound photo with the caption, Baby Girl Chen, arriving February 2027. We can't wait to meet you. Elena and Andrew Baby Girl Chen. Not Baby Girl Rodriguez. Elena was taking Andrew's name for their daughter. Damien stared at the photo until his vision blurred. Then he picked up his phone and did something he'd sworn he'd never do. He called his therapist at midnight. Dr. Sarah Kim answered on the 3rd ring, sounding groggy but not annoyed. Damien? What's wrong? She's having a girl, Damien said. Elena. She's having a baby girl. There was a pause. I see. And how are you feeling about that? Like I'm dying, Damien said honestly. Like someone reached into my chest and tore out my heart, and I'm somehow still expected to keep breathing. That sounds incredibly painful. It is. Damien, we've talked about this. Elena has moved on. She's building a life with someone else. You need to accept that. I know. Do you? Because calling me at midnight to tell me about your ex-wife's pregnancy announcement suggests you're still very much stuck. I am stuck. Damien's voice rose. I've been stuck for 3 years. I go to therapy. I try to date. I try to move on. But every time I close my eyes, I see her face in that hospital room. I see the way she looked at me like I was a monster. And she was right. I was a monster. I am a monster. You made a terrible mistake, Dr. Kim said gently. But that doesn't make you a monster. It makes you human. Humans don't let their children die. You didn't let your child die, Damien. You made a bad choice. A choice you've been punishing yourself for every day since. But at some point, you need to forgive yourself. I can't, Damien whispered. Not when she hasn't. Elena doesn't owe you forgiveness. She doesn't owe you anything. The only person whose forgiveness matters here is yours. Damien was quiet for a long time. What if I can't forgive? Myself? Then you keep trying, Dr. Kim said. You keep showing up to therapy. You keep doing the work. You keep living, not for Elena, not for the baby you lost, but for yourself, because you deserve to heal, Damien, even if you don't believe that yet. After they hung up, Damien sat in the darkness of his empty penthouse and wondered if he'd ever believe it. 1 month later, Elena's baby shower was a lavish affair held at the Plaza Hotel. 75 guests, a string quartet, champagne towers, and a dessert table that looked like something from a magazine. Andrew had insisted on hosting it, and Elena had agreed because it made him happy. But now, surrounded by well-wishers and perfectly wrapped presents and pink decorations, Elena felt like she was suffocating. You okay? Marcus appeared at her elbow with a glass of sparkling water. I'm fine, Elena lied. You look like you're about to bolt. I'm 6 months pregnant. I couldn't bolt if I wanted to. Marcus laughed. Fair point. But seriously, you seem tense. Is it the baby? Or don't, Elena warned. I didn't say anything. You were going to ask if it was about Damien. Was I? Marcus raised an eyebrow. Because I was actually going to ask if you wanted me to murder Andrew's sister. She keeps making comments about how you're glowing in a way that clearly means she thinks you look huge. Despite herself, Elena laughed. She means well. She means to make you feel bad. There's a difference. Elena touched her stomach. I do feel huge. You look beautiful, Marcus said firmly. And more importantly, you look happy. Are you? Happy? The question caught her off guard. Was she happy? She had everything she'd thought she wanted. A successful company, a good man who loved her, a healthy baby on the way, but there was still a hollow space inside her chest that nothing seemed to fill. I'm getting there, Elena said finally. That's not the same thing. It's the best I can do right now. Marcus studied her face for a moment, then nodded. Fair enough. Just promise me something. What? If you're not happy, don't marry him just because he's not Damien. Elena's breath caught. What makes you think? He's going to propose, Marcus said. Probably today, in front of everyone. I saw him talking to the violinist about playing your song. Elena's heart sank. No. He wouldn't, not at the baby shower. He would. He's romantic like that. That's not romantic. That's... Elena struggled for words. That's pressure. I know, which is why I'm giving you a heads up. You don't have to say yes just because there are 75 witnesses. I can't say no in front of 75 witnesses either. Sure you can. You're Elena Rodriguez. You've destroyed billion-dollar companies and rebuilt them in your image. You can handle telling your boyfriend that public proposals are tacky. Despite her panic, Elena smiled. When did you become so wise? I've always been wise. You just usually ignore me. Before Elena could respond, Andrew appeared, looking nervous and excited and holding a small velvet box. Elena, can I have everyone's attention? Oh, God. The room fell silent. 75 pairs of eyes turned toward them. Andrew dropped to one knee. Elena Rodriguez, he began, you are the strongest, most brilliant, most beautiful woman I've ever known. These past 8 months have been the happiest of my life, and I can't imagine spending the rest of my life with anyone else. Will you marry me? He opened the box, revealing a stunning emerald-cut diamond that probably cost more than most people's houses. Elena stared at it, her mind racing. Say yes. Just say yes. He's good. He's kind. He'll never abandon you, but he's not. No, don't think that. Don't think about him. Elena. Andrew's voice was uncertain now. The room was so quiet, Elena could hear her own heartbeat. She started, and then her water broke. It's too early, Elena gasped as the contraction ripped through her. It's too early. I'm only 26 weeks. The baby is going to be fine, the paramedic said, but Elena could hear the uncertainty in her voice. Andrew was in the ambulance with her, holding her hand, his face white with terror. You're going to be okay, he kept saying. Both of you. You're going to be okay. But Elena had heard those words before, and last time they'd been lies. Call Dr. Martinez, Elena ordered. Tell her it's happening again. Tell her I can't lose another baby. You're not going to lose the baby, Andrew said firmly. I won't let that happen. Elena wanted to laugh, as if wanting something badly enough could make it true. As if love and devotion could stop biology and fate and the universe's cruel sense of humor. The ambulance pulled up to the emergency room, and Elena was rushed inside on a gurney. 32-year-old female, 26 weeks pregnant, premature rupture of membranes. Someone was shouting, "Get her to labor and delivery. Page Dr. Martinez." Someone call NICU and tell them we have an extreme preemie incoming. Elena closed her eyes and prayed to a god she wasn't sure she believed in anymore. Please, please don't take this one too. I can't survive losing another daughter. If you're still watching, please leave a comment telling me where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe. Now back to the story. Dr. Martinez arrived within minutes. Elena, I need you to listen to me, she said, her voice calm and authoritative. Your water broke, but we're going to try to stop the labor. We're giving you steroids for the baby's lungs and medication to stop the contractions. If we can keep you pregnant for even a few more days, it significantly improves the baby's chances. And if you can't stop it, Elena whispered, then we deliver and give your daughter the best care possible. But let's focus on keeping her inside for now. For 3 hours, they tried. The contractions slowed. The bleeding stopped. Dr. Martinez looked cautiously optimistic, and then Elena's blood pressure spiked. We need to deliver now, Dr. Martinez said urgently. You're developing preeclampsia. If we wait any longer, we risk both of you. No, Elena said. No, please, just a few more days. Elena, you could have a seizure. You could stroke. We have to deliver now. She's too small, Elena sobbed. She's too small to survive. She has a chance, Dr. Martinez said, but only if we get her out now. Do you understand? We have to do this. Andrew was crying. Elena was crying. Everything was falling apart, just like last time. Okay, Elena whispered. Okay. They prepped her for an emergency C-section. As they wheeled her toward the operating room, Elena grabbed Andrew's hand. If something happens to me, she said, promise me you'll save her. Promise me you'll choose her. Nothing is going to happen to you, Andrew said. Promise me. I promise, Andrew said. But Elena, you're both going to be fine. I swear to you. Elena wanted to believe him. But promises, she'd learned, didn't mean anything in the face of medical emergencies and impossible choices. The last thing she saw before they put her under was Andrew's face, terrified and helpless. Just like Damien should have been. Just like Damien never was. Elena woke up in recovery 6 hours later. Andrew was sitting beside her bed, looking exhausted and relieved, unlike he'd aged 10 years. The baby? Elena croaked. She's alive, Andrew said. She's in the NICU. She's tiny, only 1 pound, 13 ounces, but she's breathing, she's fighting. Elena started to cry. Can I see her? As soon as you're stable enough to move, they'll take you to her. Elena, she's beautiful. She has your eyes. How do you know? Her eyes aren't even open yet. I just know. Andrew kissed her forehead. Our daughter is a fighter, just like her mother. For the first time since her water broke, Elena allowed herself to hope. They brought Elena to the NICU in a wheelchair 4 hours later. Nothing could have prepared her for seeing her daughter for the first time. So tiny, so impossibly, terrifyingly tiny. She was in an isolette, covered in wires and tubes, a ventilator breathing for her, IV lines in her tiny arms. But she was alive, and she was perfect. You can touch her, the NICU nurse said gently. Just through the isolette ports. She needs to feel your presence. Elena reached through the circular opening and gently placed her finger in her daughter's palm. The tiny fingers curled around hers. Elena gasped. She knows I'm here. Of course she does, the nurse said, smiling. She knows her mama. Andrew was crying again. What are we going to name her? Elena stared at her daughter, this tiny, fierce, impossible miracle, and knew with absolute certainty. Hope, she said. Her name is Hope. Because after 3 years of darkness and grief and rage, this little girl was the first real hope Elena had felt since the night she lost Sophie. Hope Chen, Andrew said softly. It's perfect. Elena nodded, unable to speak past the tears. You're going to make it, she thought fiercely, willing her daughter to hear her. You're going to survive this, and you're going to grow up strong and loved and safe. I promise. And unlike Damien's promises, Elena intended to keep hers. 2 weeks later, Damien heard about the premature birth from a mutual acquaintance at a business dinner. Did you hear about Elena Rodriguez? Apparently she had the baby way early, like dangerously early. The baby's been in the NICU for 2 weeks. Damien excused himself from the table and barely made it to the bathroom before he threw up. Elena had almost died. Again. And there, no, not there, her baby was fighting for her life in the NICU. Damien stood in the bathroom of the restaurant, gripping the sink, staring at his reflection and hating himself more than he'd ever thought possible. He should have been there. Not because he had any right to be. Not because Elena wanted him there, but because somewhere, in a NICU isolette, there was a tiny baby girl fighting to breathe, and it reminded him viscerally of the daughter he'd lost. Of the daughter he'd failed. Before he could talk himself out of it, Damien left the restaurant and drove to the hospital. He knew he shouldn't. Knew he had no right. But he had to see with his own eyes that Elena was okay. The NICU visiting hours were over when Damien arrived, but he donated enough money to this hospital over the years that the security guard recognized him and waved him through. He found Elena in the private NICU room, sitting in a chair beside an isolette, her hand through the port, tears streaming silently down her face. She looked destroyed. She looked beautiful. She looked like she'd been through hell and come out the other side barely intact. Elena, Damien said softly. She looked up, and the expression on her face shifted from grief to shock to pure, incandescent rage, but she kept it together. I heard about the baby. I wanted to make sure. Get out. Elena stood, moving between Damien and the isolette like a mother bear protecting her cub. You have no right to be here. I know, No. Elena's voice was shaking. You don't get to do this. You don't get to show up and pretend to care. Not about me, not about my daughter. I do care. You care about feeling like a good person, but you don't actually care about anyone except yourself. Elena hissed, keeping her voice low to avoid disturbing the other NICU babies. That's not true, Damien said. Elena, please. Andrew's getting coffee. He'll be back any second, and when he sees you here, he's going to call security. Let him, Damien said. I'm not leaving until I know you're okay. I'm not okay, Elena exploded. My daughter was born 3 months early. She weighs less than 2 pounds. She might not survive the week. So no, Damien, I'm not fucking okay. The outburst seemed to drain all the energy from her body. She sagged against the isolette, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Damien's hands clenched into fists at his sides. Every instinct screamed at him to go to her, to hold her, to comfort her. But he'd lost that right. What can I do? He asked hoarsely. Nothing, Elena whispered. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing anyone can do except wait and pray and hope that she's strong enough. She will be, Damien said. She's your daughter. Of course she's strong enough. Elena looked up at him, her eyes red and swollen. You need to leave. Elena, please. Her voice broke. Please just go. I can't deal with you right now. I can't deal with the past and the memories and everything you represent. I need to focus on hope. Only hope. Hope, Damien repeated. You named her Hope. Yes, it was the perfect name. The perfect, painful, beautiful name. I'll go, Damien said. But Elena, if you need anything at all, even if it's just someone to scream at, please call me. I won't. I know, but the offer stands. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I'm praying for her, for both of you. Elena didn't respond. Damien left the NICU and stood in the hallway, his forehead pressed against the cold wall, fighting the urge to break down completely. He'd failed Sophie. He wouldn't fail Hope, even if Hope would never be his daughter, even if Elena would never forgive him. He would make sure that baby survived, no matter what it cost. 3 days later, Hope's condition deteriorated. Elena sat by the isolette, watching the monitors, watching the numbers that meant life or death, and felt her entire world narrow to the steady beep of machines and the rise and fall of her daughter's tiny chest. Her oxygen levels keep dropping, Dr. Patel, the neonatologist, said gently. We're doing everything we can, but her lungs are extremely underdeveloped. The next 48 hours are critical. What does that mean? Andrew asked, his voice rough from lack of sleep. It means we wait, Dr. Patel said. And we hope. Hope. Elena's daughter was named Hope, and now that was all they had left. Can I hold her? Elena asked suddenly. Can I do skin to skin? Dr. Patel hesitated. She's very fragile right now. The movement could be dangerous. Can I hold my daughter? Elena repeated, her voice harder now. Yes or no? The doctor looked at Elena's face and nodded slowly. Yes, but only for a few minutes, and we'll need to monitor her very carefully. They transferred Hope from the isolette to Elena's bare chest, the baby so small she fit in Elena's 2 hands, covered in wires and tubes, but warm and alive and fighting. Hi, baby girl, Elena whispered, tears streaming down her face. Hi, Hope. It's Mama. I'm here. I'm right here, and I'm not going anywhere. Hope's tiny fingers twitched against Elena's skin. That's right, Elena continued, her voice breaking. You know me. You know my voice, and I need you to keep fighting, okay? I need you to be strong, because we have so much life to live together. So many things I want to show you. Please, baby, please don't give up. Andrew was crying beside her, his hand on Elena's shoulder. She's going to make it, he said. She has to make it. But his voice was full of the same terror Elena felt. The terror of loving something so small and fragile, and knowing you might lose it anyway. That night, Elena refused to leave the NICU. Andrew had gone home to shower and sleep for a few hours. Elena had insisted, seeing how exhausted he was. But she stayed. She would always stay. She was dozing in the chair beside Hope's isolette when she heard footsteps behind her. Visiting hours are over, she said without opening her eyes. I know. Elena's eyes snapped open. Damien stood in the doorway of the NICU room, holding a massive teddy bear that was completely inappropriate for a micro-preemie baby. What are you doing here? Elena demanded. I needed to see how she was doing. She's not your concern. I know. Damien set the teddy bear down. But I'm concerned anyway. Elena stood, moving between him and Hope's isolette. If you don't leave right now, I'm calling security. Go ahead, Damien said. But first, hear me out. Please. I don't want to hear anything you have to say. I donated $100,000 to the NICU, Damien said. Elena froze. What? $100,000. For new equipment, better monitors, additional nursing staff, whatever they need to help babies like Hope survive. I don't want your money. It's not for you, Damien said. It's for her, and for every other baby fighting to live in this unit. Because, his voice cracked, because I couldn't save Sophie, but maybe I can help save Hope. Her name is Hope Chen, Elena said coldly. She's Andrew's daughter, not yours. You have no connection to her. I know that. Then donate your money and leave, Elena said. That's all I want from you, your money and your absence. Damien flinched but nodded. Okay, I'll go. But Elena, no more words, no more apologies, no more showing up where you don't belong, just... Her voice broke. Just leave me alone. Please. I will, Damien said quietly. But I'm not going to stop praying for her. For both of you. He turned and walked out without another word. Elena sank back into her chair, her hands shaking. She hated him. She hated him so much. So why did a small, traitorous part of her wish he would stay? 5 days later, Hope turned a corner. Her oxygen levels stabilized. Her breathing strengthened. The doctors started talking cautiously about optimism instead of just survival. She's a fighter, Dr. Patel said, smiling. Against all odds, your daughter is a fighter. Elena cried with relief for the first time since Hope was born. Andrew was ecstatic, calling everyone they knew to share the good news. And Elena finally allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, her daughter would survive. That night, as she sat beside Hope's isolette, watching her daughter breathe on her own for the first time, Elena's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I heard she's improving. I'm so glad. You're an amazing mother, Elena. Hope is lucky to have you. Elena stared at the message for a long time. Then she deleted it without responding. 6 weeks later, Hope came home. She was still tiny, barely 5 pounds, but she was breathing on her own, eating on her own, and, according to Dr. Patel, progressing beautifully. Elena carried her daughter through the door of her penthouse apartment and felt her heart swell with a love so fierce it was almost painful. "Welcome home, baby girl," she whispered. "Welcome home." Andrew had prepared everything. The nursery was perfect, soft lavender. Walls, a white crib, a rocking chair by the window where Elena could nurse and watch the city lights. "It's perfect," Elena said. "Thank you." Andrew wrapped his arms around both of them. "We're a family now, the 3 of us." Elena nodded. A family. But even as she said the words, she felt the absence of the ring Andrew had tried to give her at the baby shower. He hadn't mentioned the proposal since Hope was born, hadn't pushed, hadn't asked again. But Elena knew he was waiting for her to be ready, waiting for her to say yes. And she wanted to. She wanted to say yes to this good, kind man who had been there through everything. But every time she tried to imagine herself as Mrs. Chen, something inside her recoiled. Not because Andrew wasn't good enough, but because she was still, somewhere deep down, Mrs. Stone, and she hated herself for it. 3 months later, Hope was thriving. At 4 months old, 1 month adjusted for her prematurity, she was smiling, cooing, and, according to the pediatrician, meeting all her developmental milestones perfectly. Elena had never known love like this. Fierce, all-consuming, terrifying in its intensity. She would die for this child. Kill for this child, destroy anyone who threatened her, which made what she was about to do even harder. "Andrew," Elena said one evening after Hope was asleep, "we need to talk." Andrew looked up from his laptop, and something in Elena's expression made him close it immediately. "Okay," he said carefully. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong, I just—" Elena took a deep breath. "I can't marry you." The words hung in the air between them. Andrew's face went very still. "Is this because of him?" "No," Elena said. "It's because of me. Because I'm not ready. Maybe I'll never be ready. And that's not fair to you." "Elena, I'm not asking you to be ready right now. I'm willing to wait." "For how long?" Elena interrupted. "A year? 5 years? Forever?" "Andrew, you deserve someone who can give. You their whole heart. And I can't. Not yet. Maybe not ever." "Because you're still in love with him," Andrew said flatly. "No," Elena said. "I'm not in love with Damien, but I'm not over him either. There's a difference." Andrew stood and paced to the window. "So what are you saying? That we're over?" "I'm saying I can't be your wife," Elena said gently, "but I don't want to lose you completely. You're Hope's father. You're an amazing father. And I care about you so much, just not the way you cared about him," Andrew finished. Elena wanted to deny it, wanted to lie, but Andrew deserved the truth. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Andrew was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. "I knew," he said. "From the beginning I knew you weren't over him. I thought if I was patient enough, loving enough, present enough, that eventually you'd let him go. But you can't, can you?" "I'm trying," Elena said. "I've been trying for 3 years." "Maybe you're trying too hard," Andrew said. "Maybe you need to stop running from him and actually deal with whatever's left between you." "There's nothing left between us." "Bullshit," Andrew said bluntly. "Elena, you built an entire company to destroy him. You dismantled his life piece by piece. You can't do that to someone you feel nothing for." "I did it for justice." "You did it because you're still in love with him," Andrew said. "And you hate yourself for it." The words hit Elena like a physical blow. "I'm not—" "You are." Andrew turned to face her. "And you know what? I get it. He hurt you in the worst possible way. He failed you when you needed him most, but he's also the man you built a life with. The first person you ever truly loved. Those things don't just disappear because you want them to." Elena felt tears sliding down her face. "I don't want to love him. I don't want to feel anything for him." "I know," Andrew said gently. "But you do, and until you deal with that, actually deal with it, not just run from it or try to destroy it, you're never going to be free." "So what do we do?" Elena asked. "About us? About Hope?" "I'm not going anywhere," Andrew said firmly. "Hope is my daughter in every way that matters. I've been there since the pregnancy test. I held her hand in the NICU. I walked the floors with her at 3 a.m. She's mine, Elena, and I'm not giving that up just because you can't marry me." "Andrew, but I can't be your boyfriend anymore," he continued. "I can't keep waiting for you to love me the way I love you. It's killing me. So we co-parent. We do it well. We do it with respect and kindness, but we do it as friends, not as partners." Elena nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." Andrew moved toward the door, then paused. "For what it's worth," he said, "I think you should talk to him. Actually talk to him, not to yell or rage or destroy, but to get closure. Real closure. Because this," he gestured between them, "this half-life you're living isn't sustainable." Then he left, and Elena was alone with her sleeping daughter and the wreckage of another relationship destroyed by her inability to let go of the past. 2 weeks later, Elena made a decision. She was going to see Damien. Not because she wanted to, not because she missed him, not because she had any intention of forgiving him, but because Andrew was right. She needed closure. Real, final, absolute closure. She called his office and was surprised when his assistant put her through immediately. "Elena," Damien's voice was cautious, hopeful. "Is everything okay? Is Hope?" "Hope is fine," Elena said. "I need to talk to you, in person." "Of course." "When?" "Tonight, 7 p.m. Your penthouse." There was a pause. "You want to come here?" "Is that a problem?" "No," Damien said quickly. "No, of course not. I'll be here." "Good." Elena hung up before she could change her mind. The penthouse looked different. Gone were the sleek modern furnishings, the expensive art, the cold minimalism that had characterized their marriage. Now it was warmer. Lived in. There were books on the coffee table, a throw blanket over the couch, framed photographs on the mantel. Photographs of Elena. From their wedding, from their honeymoon, from 100 small moments she'd forgotten. He'd kept them all. "Thank you for coming," Damien said, emerging from the kitchen with 2 glasses of wine. "I'm not drinking," Elena said. "I'm still nursing." Of course. Sorry. I have water, or... Water is fine. He disappeared and returned with a bottle of sparkling water. His hands were shaking as he poured it. They sat on opposite ends of the couch, a careful distance between them. You said you needed to talk, Damien said. I'm listening. Elena took a deep breath. I need to understand why you did it, and I need you to be completely honest with me. No justifications, no excuses. Just the truth. Did what? Chose the deal over Sophie. Damien flinched at their daughter's name. He was quiet for a long moment. I was scared, he said finally. Elena blinked. What? I was scared, Damien repeated. Of the pregnancy, of becoming a father, of how much my life was going to change. The business. I understood business. I was good at it. I could control it. But a baby. I had no idea what I was doing, and every time I thought about it, I panicked. So you just avoided it? Yes. Damien's voice was raw. I threw myself into work because work made sense, and when you called that night, when you said you were bleeding, I convinced myself it wasn't serious, that you were overreacting, that I had time, because if I admitted it was serious, I'd have to face all the fear I'd been avoiding. You let our daughter die because you were scared. Elena's voice was rising now, years of suppressed rage finally breaking through. Do you have any idea what I went through to get pregnant with her? 3 years, Damien. 3 years of injections and procedures and hope and devastation. I spent my grandmother's entire inheritance, $200,000, trying to have your child. And you were scared. Damien's face had gone white. Elena, I was terrified too. Elena was standing now, her voice shaking. Every single day of that pregnancy, I was terrified I'd lose her, that my body would fail again, that after everything we'd been through, it still wouldn't be enough. But I showed up, Damien. I went to every appointment. I took every vitamin. I did everything right, and you couldn't even answer your phone. I didn't understand, Damien started. You didn't want to understand. Elena cut him off. I told you about every failed cycle, every miscarriage, every devastating phone call from the fertility clinic. You knew what Sophie meant. You knew she was our miracle baby, our last chance, and you treated her like she was an inconvenience. You're right, Damien said, his voice breaking. You're absolutely right. I knew how much you'd sacrificed, how much you'd suffered, and I couldn't face it. Couldn't face the weight of how much that baby meant. Because if I admitted how important she was, I'd have to admit how terrified I was of failing you both. And so I convinced myself it wasn't that serious, that you were being dramatic, that I had time. But I wasn't being dramatic, Elena whispered, sinking back onto the couch. I was dying, our daughter was dying, and you chose a conference room. Yes, Damien said. I let our daughter die because I was a coward, because I chose what was comfortable over what mattered, because I failed in the most catastrophic way a husband and father can fail. And I failed you in an even worse way. I dismissed your pain, your sacrifice, your 3 years of fighting to give us a child. I made it all meaningless. Elena stared at him. In 3 years, he'd never been this honest. Do you know what the worst part is? Damien continued. I didn't even realize what I'd done until I walked into that hospital room and saw your face. Saw the way you looked at me like I was a stranger. That's when I understood. That's when I realized I'd destroyed everything, everything you'd worked for, everything you'd suffered for, everything you'd hoped for. You did, Elena said quietly. I know. And I've spent every day since trying to figure out how to live with that. How to wake up every morning knowing I killed my own child through negligence and cowardice. Knowing I betrayed the woman who'd endured years of hell to give me a family. Damien's eyes filled with tears. I ask Sophie to forgive me every day, for not being there for her and for you. If I could go back in time, I would leave that meeting the second you called. I would drive to the hospital at 100 miles an hour. I would be there to hold your hand and tell you everything would be okay. I would choose you. I would choose her. Every single time, I would honor everything you sacrificed to bring her into our lives. But you didn't, Elena whispered. But I didn't, Damien agreed, and I have to live with that. We both do. They sat in silence for a long moment. I brought someone to meet you, Elena said suddenly. Damien looked confused. What? Elena pulled out her phone and showed him a photo. Hope, at 3 months old, smiling at the camera in a yellow onesie covered in ducks. Damien stared at the photo like it was a lifeline. She's beautiful, he whispered. She looks like you. Damien's hand trembled as he held the phone. Can I meet her? Someday. I don't know, Elena said honestly. She's not yours, Damien. She's Andrew's daughter. I know, but... Damien looked up at her. I lost Sophie. I don't want to lose the chance to know Hope, even if it's just as a distant family friend, or nothing at all. I just want to know she's loved, that she's safe, that she has the father I couldn't be. She does, Elena said. Andrew is wonderful with her. Good. Damien handed back the phone. That's good. Another long silence. Why did you really come here tonight? Damien asked finally. Because I needed to stop hating you, Elena said. Because the hate was eating me alive, and I realized that I can't move forward while I'm still chained to the past. So you're letting me go, Damien said. I'm trying to. Does that mean... Damien's voice was careful. Does that mean there's any chance? No, Elena said firmly. There's no chance for us. There never will be. Too much has happened. Too much has been destroyed. I understand. But, Elena continued, I don't want to hate you anymore. I don't want to spend the rest of my life consumed with rage and bitterness. So I'm choosing to forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. Damien's breath caught. You're forgiving me? I'm trying to, Elena said. It's not going to happen overnight, and it doesn't mean we're going to be friends. But it means I'm going to stop actively trying to destroy you. Your company, I'm divesting from your industry, Elena said. I'm focusing Aurora Capital on tech and green energy. I'm walking away from the vendetta. Elena, I'm not doing it for you, she interrupted. I'm doing it for me. Because every time I see your name in a contract or a business proposal, I remember everything I lost, and I can't keep living like that. Damien nodded slowly. Thank you. For even considering forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. You don't, Elena agreed, but Hope deserves a mother who isn't drowning in rage, and I deserve to be happy. So I'm choosing to let go. She stood, and Damien stood with her. I should go, Elena said. Hope will be waking up soon for her feeding. Elena, Damien said as she reached the door, thank you for coming here, for being honest, for giving me the truth even when it hurts. Goodbye, Damien, Elena said. And this time, when she walked out, it felt different. Not like an ending. Like a door closing softly instead of slamming. Like the first step toward freedom. 6 months later. Elena was in her office when her assistant buzzed through. Miss Rodriguez, there's a Damien Stone here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's urgent. Elena's heart lurched. She hadn't seen or spoken to Damien since that night in his penthouse. Send him in, she said. Damien entered, and Elena was shocked by how different he looked. Thinner, older, but somehow more at peace. Elena, he said, I'm sorry to just show up, but I needed to tell you something. What is it? I'm selling the company. Elena blinked. What? Stone Industries. I'm selling it. The deal closes next month. Why? Because you were right, Damien said. I built my entire life around that company. Made it my whole identity. Sacrificed everything, including my family, for its success. And it nearly destroyed me. So I'm letting it go. What will you do? I don't know yet, Damien said. Maybe travel, maybe volunteer, maybe go back to school and learn something completely impractical like philosophy or art history. I just know I can't keep living the way I was. Elena studied his face. You seem lighter. I am, Damien said. Letting go of the company, letting go of the need to prove myself, it's like I can finally breathe again. I'm glad, Elena said, and she meant it. There's something else, Damien said. I'm donating part of the sale proceeds to establish a foundation for NICU families, to help pay medical bills, provide housing near hospitals, fund research. I'm calling it the Sophie and Hope Foundation. Elena's breath caught. If you'll let me, of course, Damien said. I know I have no right to claim Hope, but Sophie, she deserves to be remembered, and if her story can help save other babies, then maybe her death wasn't completely meaningless. Elena felt tears welling in her eyes. She was never meaningless. I know, but I need to do something. I need to make amends in whatever way I can. Okay, Elena said. You can use both their names. Thank you. They stood in silence for a moment. Can I ask you something? Damien said. What? Are you happy? Elena considered the question. I'm getting there. Hope is wonderful. The company is thriving. Andrew and I have figured out how to co-parent successfully. I'm building a life I'm proud of. Good, Damien said. That's all I ever wanted for you. Damien, you don't have to say anything, he interrupted. I just needed you to know that I'm finally working on becoming the man I should have been 3 years ago. Better late than never, right? Elena smiled sadly. Better late than never. Damien moved toward the door, then paused. I'd like to meet her someday, he said quietly. Hope. Not as anything. Just as someone who cares about her mother. If you ever think that would be okay. Elena thought about it. About Damien holding her baby daughter. About introducing the man who'd destroyed her to the child who'd saved her. Maybe, she said. Someday. When she's older. When I'm ready. I'll wait, Damien said. However long it takes. And then he left, and Elena sat at her desk and cried. Not from grief. Not from rage. But from relief. Because for the first time in 3 years, she believed they might both actually heal. 2 years later. Hope was running through Central Park, her little legs pumping as she chased a butterfly, her laughter echoing across the lawn. Elena watched from a bench nearby, her heart swelling with a love so profound it still sometimes took her breath away. Mama, Mama, look, Hope called, pointing at the butterfly that had landed on a nearby flower. I see it, baby. It's beautiful. Hope was beautiful. At 2.5 years old, she was thriving, bright, curious, fearless. Her gray eyes sparkled with intelligence and mischief. Her dark curls bounced as she ran. She looked so much like Sophie would have looked. Elena had stopped flinching at the thought, had stopped feeling guilty for loving this daughter while grieving the one she'd lost. Dr. Kim? Yes. Elena had started seeing Damien's therapist a year ago, had helped her understand that loving Hope didn't betray Sophie's memory, that she could hold both grief and joy in her heart simultaneously. Ms. Rodriguez? Elena looked up to find a man standing nearby, holding a coffee carrier and looking nervous. It took her a moment to recognize him. Damien looked completely different than he had 2 years ago. His hair was longer, touched with gray at the temples. He wore jeans and a casual sweater instead of his usual suit. He looked younger somehow, happier. Damien, Elena said, surprised. What are you doing here? I was getting coffee and I saw you sitting here. He gestured at the coffee carrier. I wasn't sure if I should approach, but I thought maybe you'd like a coffee, if that's okay. Elena considered sending him away, but something in his expression, tentative, hopeful but not desperate, made her pause. Okay, she said. What did you get me? Vanilla latte, 2 pumps of vanilla, extra foam, cinnamon on top. He handed her the cup. I didn't know if you still drank them the same way. I do, Elena said, touched that he'd remembered after all this time. Damien gestured to the bench. May I? Elena nodded, and he sat down, leaving a careful distance between them. They sipped their coffee in silence, watching Hope chase butterflies. She's beautiful, Damien said finally. Is that Hope? Yes. She's gotten so big. 2.5 now, Elena said. She'll be 3 in February. Does she? Damien hesitated. Does she know about Sophie? Elena shook her head. Not yet. She's too young to understand. But when she's older, I'll tell her. I'll tell her she had a sister who would have loved her very much. Damien's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Thank you for keeping Sophie's memory alive. She was my daughter too, Elena said quietly. I'll never forget her. They watched Hope for a few more minutes. How have you been? Elena asked. Good, Damien said. Really good, actually. I've been volunteering at the foundation, working with NICU families, helping them navigate insurance and medical bills. It's meaningful. More meaningful than anything I did running the company. I'm glad. I've also been traveling. I spent 6 months in Southeast Asia. Learned to meditate. Took up painting. Elena smiled. Painting? You? Badly, Damien admitted with a laugh. Very badly. But I enjoy it. Turns out I don't have to be good at something to find value in it. Who knew? You've changed, Elena observed. I hope so, Damien said. The man I was 3 years ago, he was empty, broken, defined entirely by his failures. I'm trying to be someone different, now. It suits you. Thank you. Hope came running over, her little face flushed with excitement. Mama, I saw a butterfly and a bird and a squirrel. Wow, baby, that's so many animals. Hope noticed Damien and stopped, suddenly shy. She pressed against Elena's leg. Hope, this is... Elena hesitated. This is Damien. He's an old friend of Mama's. Damien's face did something complicated at the word friend, but he smiled gently. Hello, Hope, he said softly. It's very nice to meet you. Hope studied him with her solemn gray eyes so much like his own. You have gray eyes like me, she said. Damien's breath caught. I do. That means we match. It does. Hope considered this, then held out her hand. Want to see the butterfly with me? Elena's heart stopped. She started to intervene. This was too much. Too fast, she wasn't ready. But Damien was already looking at her, asking permission without words. Elena found herself nodding. I'd love to see the butterfly, Damien said, taking Hope's tiny hand in his much larger one. They walked together toward the flowers, Hope chattering about butterflies and squirrels and everything she'd seen, Damien listening with an expression of wonder and grief and gratitude all mixed together. Elena watched them and felt something inside her chest finally, fully release. This was closure, real closure, not the angry, bitter kind she'd sought years ago, but the kind that came from forgiveness and healing and the understanding that people were capable of change. 30 minutes later, Hope had tired herself out and was dozing in Elena's arms as they walked back toward the park exit. Damien walked beside them, his hands in his pockets, his expression peaceful. Thank you, he said quietly, for letting me spend time with her. I know I didn't deserve it. She liked you, Elena said. She doesn't warm up to strangers easily, but she liked you. She's remarkable, Damien said, smart and curious and kind. You've done an incredible job with her. Andrew and I both have, Elena corrected gently. Of course. Andrew, how is he? Good. He's engaged to someone new, a pediatric surgeon named Sarah. They're getting married next spring. And you're okay with that? I'm happy for him, Elena said honestly. He deserves someone who can love him completely. Sarah's wonderful with Hope. They're building a good life together. What about you? Damien asked. Are you seeing anyone? No, Elena said. I'm focused on Hope and the company. Romance isn't really a priority right now. That's understandable. They reached Elena's car. She buckled Hope into her car seat, the little girl barely stirring. Damien, Elena said, turning to face him, I'm glad I ran into you today. You seem like you're doing well, like you've found peace. I'm trying, Damien said. Some days are harder than others, but I'm trying. That's all any of us can do. Damien nodded. Then hesitantly, he said, would it be okay if we did this again sometime? Not as anything romantic, but maybe as friends. Elena considered it. A year ago, she would have said no immediately. But standing here now, seeing how much he'd changed, how hard he'd worked to become someone better. Okay, she said. We can try, slowly, carefully, with very clear boundaries. Hope stirred in her car seat. Mama, is the grey-eyes man coming to my birthday party? Elena blinked, surprised Hope had woken up. Damien looked at Elena, hope and fear warring in his expression. Your birthday isn't for 4 months, baby, Elena said. But is he coming? Hope persisted. I want him to come. He's nice. Elena looked at Damien, saw the man who'd destroyed her, saw the man who'd rebuilt himself from the wreckage, saw a future where maybe they could find a way forward that honored the past without being imprisoned by it. We'll see, sweetheart, Elena said. We'll see. But she was smiling. And Damien was smiling too, and for the first time in 5 years, Elena felt like she could truly breathe. 6 months later. Hope's 3rd birthday party was at Elena's penthouse, a chaos of pink balloons, princess decorations, and 15 3-year-olds hopped up on sugar. Andrew was there with Sarah, who had become a genuine friend to Elena over the past months. Marcus was there, playing the role of favorite uncle and entertaining the kids with magic tricks. And Damien was there. He'd arrived precisely on time, bearing an enormous wrapped present and looking nervous. You came, Elena said, answering the door. You invited me, Damien replied. I wouldn't miss it. Hope spotted him immediately and ran over, throwing her arms around his legs. Grey Eyes, you came. Did you bring me a present? Hope, Elena admonished. That's not polite. It's okay, Damien said, laughing. Yes, I brought you a present, but you have to wait until after cake to open it. Okay, Hope grabbed his hand. Come see my friends. This is Madison, and that's Olivia, and that's Jackson. She dragged him into the chaos, and Damien went willingly, his face lit up with genuine joy. Andrew appeared at Elena's elbow. He's good with her. I know, Elena said. I didn't expect that. Are you okay with it? Him being here? I think so, Elena said. It feels right somehow. Like we're all finally healing. Andrew squeezed her shoulder. You've come a long way. We all have. They watched Damien play with Hope and her friends, watched him kneel down to her level to listen to her excited chatter about her birthday crown. He's different, Andrew observed, from the man you described. He is, Elena agreed. People can change, if they're willing to do the work. Do you still love him? The question should have surprised her. Instead, Elena found herself actually considering it. I love who he's becoming, she said finally. I respect the work he's done, but the man I married, that version of Damien is gone, and I'm not in love with this new version. I'm learning to let go of the hate, learning to make space for something gentler. Forgiveness, Andrew said. Maybe, Elena replied, or maybe just peace. After the party, after all the guests had left, after Andrew and Sarah had taken Hope for her weekly sleepover at their place, Elena found herself alone with Damien as he helped her clean up. "You didn't have to stay," Elena said, collecting discarded paper plates. "I wanted to," Damien said. "It's the least I could do." They worked in comfortable silence for a few minutes. "Can I ask you something?" Damien said finally. "Sure. Why did you really invite me today, after everything?" Elena paused, a handful of deflated balloons in her hand. "Because Hope asked for you," she said. "Because she lights up when you're around. Because you've shown up consistently for 6 months. Not pushing, not demanding, just being present. And because—" she took a deep breath. "Because I think Sophie would have wanted her sister to know you. The real you. Not the man you were, but the man you're becoming." Damien's eyes filled with tears. "Do you really think so?" "I do," Elena said. "You're honoring her memory now. Through the foundation, through your work with NICU families, through the way you show up for Hope. That matters. It doesn't undo what I did." "No," Elena agreed. "It doesn't. But it means something. It means you've grown, changed, become someone who might have made different choices." Damien wiped his eyes. "I think about that night all the time, about what I should have done, what I would do differently." "I know, but you can't change the past. None of us can. We can only move forward." "Is that what we're doing? Moving forward?" Elena considered the question. "I think so. Not toward romance, not toward what we had before, but toward something new, something healthier. Friendship, maybe. Or just two people who share a complicated history, learning to coexist peacefully." "I'll take it," Damien said. "Whatever you're willing to give, I'll take it." They finished cleaning in silence. As Damien was leaving, he paused at the door. "Elena." "Yes?" "Thank you for giving me a second chance to be part of Hope's life, for trusting me enough to let me try. I know I don't deserve it." "You're right," Elena said. "You don't deserve it, but Hope deserves to be surrounded by people who love her, and you do love her." "I can see it." "I do," Damien said quietly. "Being around her, it's like getting a glimpse of what I lost, but also what I might have had if I'd been brave enough to show up." "You're showing up now," Elena said. "That's what matters." Damien nodded and left. Elena closed the door and leaned against it, her eyes closed. 5 years ago, she'd lost everything, but slowly, painfully, she'd rebuilt. A company, a life, a daughter who was healthy and happy and loved. And now, impossibly, she was learning to let go of the rage that had sustained her for so long, learning to forgive the unforgivable, learning to find peace in the ruins of what once was. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, but it was real, and real, Elena had learned, was so much better than perfect. 1 year later, the Sophie and Hope Foundation was hosting its annual gala, a black tie fundraiser that had become one of the most prestigious events in New York. Elena stood in the ballroom of the Plaza Hotel, wearing a stunning emerald gown, watching donors mingle and bid on auction items. The foundation had raised over $10 million in 3 years. They'd funded NICU upgrades in 15 hospitals, provided housing for over 200 families, funded groundbreaking research on premature birth prevention. Sophie's legacy was saving lives. "Ms. Rodriguez." Elena turned to find a young woman holding a baby, a tiny, perfect baby who couldn't be more than a few months old. "I'm sorry to interrupt," the woman said, tears in her eyes. "But I wanted to—" "Thank you. My daughter was born at 24 weeks. The doctors said she wouldn't survive. But your foundation, you paid for her NICU care when our insurance ran out. You gave us a place to stay near the hospital. You gave us hope when we had none left. And now—" She held up her baby. Now she's here. She's alive, because of you and Mr. Stone. Elena's throat tightened. What's her name? Sophie, the woman said. We named her Sophie, after the foundation. Elena's vision blurred with tears. She reached out and gently touched the baby's tiny hand. Hello, Sophie, she whispered. Welcome to the world. The woman thanked her again and moved on, but Elena stood frozen, overwhelmed by the moment. Elena? She turned to find Damien standing behind her, looking devastatingly handsome in a tuxedo. Did you see that? Elena asked. Did you hear what she named her baby? I did, Damien said, his voice thick with emotion. There are 3 Sophies here tonight. 3 babies who survived. Because of this foundation. Because of you, Elena corrected. This was your idea. Your vision. It was our daughter who inspired it, Damien said. She's the real hero here. They stood together in silence, watching the gala unfold around them. I need to tell you something, Damien said suddenly. Elena looked at him warily. What? I'm seeing someone. Her name is Rachel. She's a NICU nurse. We met through the foundation. Elena felt a strange pang in her chest. Not jealousy, exactly, but something. That's good, she said. I'm happy for you. Are you? Damien studied her face. Because if it bothers you, if it's too soon, it's been 5 years, Damien, Elena said. You deserve to be happy, to move on, to build a life. So do you, Damien said. Are you? Building a life? Elena thought about Hope, now almost 4 years old, starting pre-K and making friends and becoming her own person. She thought about Aurora Capital, which had just closed a historic deal and was being featured in Forbes. She thought about the foundation, about the lives they'd saved, about Sophie's legacy living on. I am, Elena said. Maybe not the life I imagined when I was 25 and planning a wedding, but a good life, a life I'm proud of. Good, Damien said. That's all I ever wanted for you. The band started playing and couples moved on to the dance floor. Elena, Damien said hesitantly, would you dance with me? Just one dance, for old time's sake. Elena should have said no, should have maintained the boundaries they'd carefully constructed over the past year, but something in his expression, hopeful but not desperate, warm but not possessive, made her pause. Okay, she said. One dance. He led her onto the dance floor and pulled her into a careful, respectful hold. They swayed to the music, and Elena was struck by how different this felt from dancing with him 5 years ago. Then he'd held her like she was a possession. Something to be, displayed and controlled. Now he held her like she was glass. Something precious that might shatter if he wasn't careful. I'm proud of you, Elena said quietly, for the foundation, for the work you're doing, for the man you've become. I'm proud of you too, Damien said, for surviving what I put you through, for building an empire, for raising Hope into the most remarkable little girl I've ever met. She is remarkable, isn't she? She gets it from her mother. They danced in silence for a moment. Damien, Elena said. Yes? I forgive you. He stumbled slightly, then recovered. What? I forgive you, Elena repeated, for that night, for all of it. I'm letting it go, fully, finally, completely. Damien's eyes filled with tears. Elena. It doesn't mean I forget, she continued. It doesn't mean we go back to what we were, but it means I'm choosing to release the anger, to make peace with the past, to move forward without the weight of resentment. Thank you, Damien whispered. God, Elena, thank you. You have no idea what that means to me. I think I do, Elena said, because I'm doing it for me as much as for you. I'm tired of carrying the pain. I'm ready to be free. The song ended, and they stepped apart. Friends? Damien asked, holding out his hand. Elena looked at it, the hand that had once held hers at their wedding, the hand that had failed to reach for her when she needed him most, the hand that was now extended in peace. She took it. "Friends," she agreed. 3 years later. Elena stood in the NICU of Mount Sinai Hospital, watching through the glass as nurses cared for the newest generation of miracle babies. This wing, the Sophie Stone Memorial Wing, had been dedicated last month. State-of-the-art equipment, private family rooms, the best neonatal care in the world, all funded by the foundation. "Ms. Rodriguez?" A nurse approached, smiling. "There's someone here to see you." Elena turned and froze. Hope, now 6 years old, gap-toothed and beautiful, was standing in the doorway holding hands with Damien. "Mama!" Hope ran over and threw herself into Elena's arms. "We came to see the babies." "What are you doing here?" Elena asked, looking at Damien over Hope's head. "Hope asked if we could visit the hospital," Damien explained. "She wanted to see where the Sophie and Hope Foundation helps babies. I called Andrew, and he said it was okay if I brought her. I hope that's all right." "Of course," Elena said. "Hope, do you want to see the babies?" "Yes." Hope pressed her face against the glass. "They're so tiny. Were they born too early, like me?" "Just like you," Elena confirmed, "and the doctors and nurses are taking very good care of them." "Because of Aunt Sophie," Hope said confidently. Elena's breath caught. "What did you say?" "Aunt Sophie," Hope repeated. "The sister I never met, the one the foundation is named after. You told me about her, remember?" Elena had told Hope the story on her 5th birthday. Simplified, age-appropriate, but honest, about the sister she'd lost, about the pain that had turned into purpose. "That's right," Elena said. "Because of Sophie." Hope studied the babies thoughtfully. "I think Aunt Sophie would be happy that we're helping other babies." "I think so too, sweetheart." Damien was suspiciously quiet. When Elena looked at him, she saw tears streaming silently down his face. "Hope," Damien said, his voice rough, "can I tell you something?" "Okay." "Sophie wasn't just your aunt. She was my daughter too, and your mama's daughter. She was your sister." Hope's eyes widened. "Really? Really? So that means—" Hope's little face scrunched up in concentration. "That means I'm your mama's friend," Damien said gently. "Andrew is your papa. That doesn't change. But yes, I knew your sister Sophie, and I loved her very much. Just like I love you." Hope considered this, then nodded. "Okay, can we get ice cream now?" The adults laughed through their tears. "Yes," Elena said, "we can get ice cream." As they walked out of the hospital together, Elena, Damien, and Hope between them, Elena felt a sense of completeness she hadn't experienced in 7 years. This was her family now, not conventional, not perfect, rebuilt from brokenness and held together by forgiveness and shared grief and hope for the future, but family nonetheless. 5 years later. The invitation was simple but elegant. "You are cordially invited to the dedication of the Sophie Stone Rodriguez Memorial Research Center, opening November 15th. In loving memory of all the babies we've lost, and in honor of all the babies we've saved." Elena stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd of hundreds, NICU families, donors, medical professionals, and friends. Hope, now 11 years old and frighteningly intelligent, sat in the front row between Andrew and Sarah, who now had 2 children of their own. Damien sat a few rows back with Rachel, his wife of 2 years, and their newborn son. Marcus was there, Dr. Patel, Dr. Martinez, nurses and doctors who'd worked tirelessly to save lives, and the ghosts, always the ghosts. Sophie, who died too soon, all the babies who'd fought and lost. 12 years ago, Elena began, I lost my daughter. In the worst moment of my life, I was alone, terrified and drowning in grief. I thought I would never survive it, never recover, never feel whole again. She paused, her eyes finding hopes. I was wrong. Not because the pain went away. It never fully goes away, but because I learned that we have a choice in how we carry our grief. We can let it destroy us, or we can let it transform us. We can build monuments to our pain, or we can build something that gives that pain meaning. Elena looked at Damien now. This research center represents the latter. It represents countless hours of work, millions of dollars raised, and most importantly, a commitment to ensuring that no family has to experience the loss we experienced. That no baby has to die because of circumstances we can prevent or cure. She took a deep breath. Sophie lived for only 12 weeks. She never took a breath outside my body. She never opened her eyes or cried or smiled. But her legacy, Elena's voice cracked. Her legacy has saved hundreds of lives, has given hundreds of families the happy ending we didn't get, and that makes the pain bearable. There wasn't a dry eye in the audience. After the ceremony, as people mingled and toured the new facility, Damien approached Elena. "That was beautiful," he said. "Sophie would be proud." "We should both be proud," Elena replied. "We took the worst thing that ever happened to us and turned it into something meaningful." "We did," Damien agreed. Then, hesitantly, "Elena, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Do you ever regret it? The way things turned out between us?" Elena considered the question honestly. "I regret how we ended," she said. "I regret the pain and the anger and the years we spent hurting each other. But I don't regret where we ended up. Because this..." She gestured at the research center, at Hope laughing with her friends, at the life she'd built from the ashes. "This is exactly where I was meant to be. Even though we're not together?" "Especially because we're not together," Elena said gently. "We were toxic for each other, Damien. We brought out the worst in each other. But apart, as friends, as co-founders of this foundation, as two people who share a history but not a future, we're better. We're healing. We're whole." Damien nodded slowly. "You're right. Rachel she's everything I needed but didn't know I was looking for. Someone who sees me clearly, who holds me accountable, who loves me without conditions but also without letting me hide from myself." "I'm glad you found that," Elena said. "Everyone deserves that kind of love. Do you have it? That kind of love?" Elena thought about her life. Hope, her company, her friends, her purpose. "I have different kinds of love," she said. "I have hope. I have meaningful work. I have friendships that sustain me. I have a life I'm proud of. Maybe that's enough." "Maybe," Damien said. "But I hope someday you find someone who sees you the way you deserve to be seen." "Maybe I will," Elena said. "But if I don't, I'll still be happy. Because I've learned that I don't need someone else to complete me. I'm already complete." Hope ran over, breathless and excited. "Mama, they're showing us the research labs. Can I go see?" "Of course, baby. Be careful." Hope ran off, and Elena watched her go with a smile. "She's extraordinary," Damien said. "She is," Elena agreed. "She's my greatest achievement." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching Hope explore the center that bore her sister's name. "We did good," Elena said finally. "After everything, we did something good." "We did," Damien agreed. "Sophie would be proud. Hope is proud, and I think we can be proud too." "Yes," Elena said. "I think we can." Epilogue, 15 years later. Hope Rodriguez Chen graduated summa cum laude from Harvard Medical School with a specialization in neonatology. At her graduation party, surrounded by family and friends, she gave a speech that left everyone in tears. "I was born at 26 weeks, she said. 1 pound, 13 ounces. The doctors said I wouldn't survive, but I did. Because of incredible medical care, because of my parents' love, and because of a foundation built in memory of the sister I never met. She looked at Elena, who was crying openly. My mother taught me that grief can be transformative, that pain can have purpose. That 3 years of injections and failures and losses can lead to a miracle. Me. That persistence in the face of impossible odds is what defines us. Then Hope looked at Damien, now in his 60s, grey-haired and smiling through tears. And Damien, who isn't my biological father, but who has been a constant presence in my life, taught me that people can change. That mistakes don't define us, that redemption is always possible if we're willing to do the work. She raised her glass. To Sophie, to all the babies we've lost, and to everyone who fights every day to save the tiny lives that deserve a chance. This degree isn't just mine, it belongs to all of us. After the party, as the guests were leaving, Elena found herself alone on the balcony with Damien. We did it, she said quietly. We took the worst thing that ever happened to us and created something beautiful. We did, Damien agreed. And Hope is going to change the world. She already has, Elena said, just by existing. They stood in silence, watching the city lights. Elena, Damien said. Yes? I know it's been decades. I know we've moved past it. But I need to say it one more time. I'm sorry for that night, for failing you, for failing Sophie. I will carry that regret until the day I die. I know, Elena said, but I hope you also carry the pride of everything we built afterward. The lives we saved, the families we helped, the legacy we created. That matters too. It does, Damien said. It really does. They stood together under the stars, two people bound by shared tragedy, separated by time and connected by forgiveness. It wasn't a love story, not in the traditional sense, but it was a story of redemption, of healing, of two broken people who found a way to make beauty from ashes. And in the end, that was enough. More than enough, it was everything. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to the Loaded Diaries for more.